I'm going to demonstrate how to do a great hip opening stretch, the Pigeon Pose. Pigeon Pose is such a great hip opener because it not only focuses on external or outward rotation of the femur in the hip socket, but it also lengthens our psoas muscle, that primary hip flexor that often gets shortened from too much sitting. Something to remember with Pigeon Pose, this is an advanced stretch, so it might not be appropriate for you. Alignment is going to be very important if you choose to do this stretch. So often I see people thoughtlessly going right into Pigeon Pose. They may fold right into it in the forward bend variation, or I see uneven hips as they're deepening into the stretch. And this is kind of scary because that can put a lot of stress on the knee, a lot of stress on the sacrum, potentially causing a lot of pain and might even lead to that injury, like a low back injury. It's the opposite of what we want to do with this stretch. So be mindful on if it's appropriate for you at this time. Those with knee or sacroiliac issues definitely need to be careful as they move into this stretch. And it may be that you need a little warming up to do before you do pigeon, or you may need to do some preparatory stretches before you go into this advanced one. So to begin, we're going to start on all fours in a tabletop position. You can move into pigeon from down dog. That's what most oftentimes happens in a yoga class, but I just want to go nice and slow here so that you can really see that alignment. So starting on all fours, we're going to take a big breath in as we extend our left leg back. As you exhale, draw your left knee towards the front of the mat and place it right behind your left wrist. Bringing our attention to our right leg, we're going to untuck our right toes and draw a straight line towards the back of the mat with the right leg until we get to a position finding that nice edge for you. You want to make sure that your right hip stays down. It's really easy to want to roll to the left side with that left leg forward. So reach the right toes back a bit more if you need some help keeping that right hip down. Your right quadriceps should face the mat. Bringing our attention to our hands. It's important to really press into the hands so that we stay lifted and have an open chest. Your belly should be long. It's really easy for people to kind of dump into the stretch or kind of collapse and just like dump into their shoulders. We want to press into the hands, stay lifted, let our shoulders roll down our back. Bringing our attention back to our front leg, as we press into the hands and stay lifted, we're going to start to shimmy our left foot towards the right side of the mat. And again, moving slow here. You want to see what works for your body. And once you find a good position there, hold it. Most people's shin is going to be at a diagonal angle. Eventually, as you become more flexible or continue practicing pigeon, your shin may be able to become parallel to the front of the mat, but you do not want to force it there if that doesn't work for your body right now. So just let it be at that diagonal angle. You also want to make sure that your left foot is flexed to protect the knee. So your left toes should be towards the left shin. Pressing into the hands, staying lifted, continuing to breathe and relax through my shoulders. I want to make sure those hips are parallel again. And sometimes to help, you can walk your hands back so that you can even out your weight here. Or you may want to grab a block to get a lot of good support through the hands as you adjust your lower body and square off your hips. We want to keep our hips square in pigeon because that's going to help with our alignment of our sacrum. If our hips are uneven, it can cause some torque in the sacrum, which can lead to low back issues. So we want to keep those hips square, find good support through the hands. Bringing our attention back to our front leg, that left hip. If you find yourself really falling to the left side, or your left hip is really high off the mat, there's a lot of space between the hip and the mat, you may need to place a block or a blanket under it. You want to have that good support so you keep good alignment. So you may need to place the block under the left hip so that you don't collapse onto that side. Maybe you want the block at the front to stay nice and supported through the arms. If you're a little more flexible and you want to deepen into the stretch, you could take a big breath in. As you exhale, reach the heart forward to keep length in your spine, and maybe you lower to your forearms. This might be a good stretch here. Eventually, you can deepen into the stretch even more by lowering your forehead to the back of the hands. Wherever you're at in pigeon pose, it's very important to remember to keep breathing as you stretch. Stay relaxed through your shoulders, stay relaxed through your jaw, so that you can just hang out and get the best stretch possible. With pigeon pose, you want to hold the stretch for at least 1 minute on each side. The piriformis, that muscle we're focusing on, that external rotator of the front leg, and then your psoas, that hip flexor on the back leg, they're both really deep muscles, so we need to give them time to lengthen. So at least 1 minute on each side. To come out of the stretch safely, you're going to have your hands below your shoulders, tuck your right toes under, lift the right knee, and then place your left knee back below the left hip, and then your right knee can come in as well. Sometimes it feels good to lift your left leg and circle it around in both directions to get some movement going back into the hip before you move to the other side.